Oh, he just wrote all of our names, didn't he? To Nelson, Murdoch, and Page.
Page, Murdoch, and Nelson.
Hang on a minute. Hey everybody, Colton here, and Daredevil Born Again has come and gone, and while it is certainly one of Marvel Studios' better shows, for me, it's just nowhere near the quality of that original series. And that stems from the fact that this show was originally never meant to be viewed as a season 4. It was originally meant to be like a semi-reboot, but then like halfway through production, they hastily tried to turn it into a Daredevil season 4. They brought back more of the original cast, and of course, the violence. But what I would have much preferred, and what I think would have made for a much better season of television, is if they embraced that original series from the jump, instead of it feeling like they just shoehorned it in at the last minute. This should have been a continuation from the very beginning. Have Foggy get back into politics and run against Fisk for mayor. Have Karen Page team up with BB Urich to take down Fisk in the press. And of course, have Matt Murdock become his darkest self and hunt down Kingpin as Daredevil. I have so much to say, let's step over here and talk about it. Okay, so don't get me wrong, the changes that they made to Born Again, making it closer to that of the original series, was the right move, and I'm really optimistic about season 2, but I want to talk about what this season could have looked like had they made it correctly from the start, had they embraced the past of the original series from the jump, instead of crawling back to it belly up when they realized they had made a horrible mistake by ever trying to ignore it in the first place. So for a little background, Born Again was originally going to ignore the continuity of the original series, no Karen, no Foggy, and the show was going to have a very different feel, more in line with that of a standard Marvel Studios show, and not much of anything like that of the original series. The only thing that they planned on bringing back really was Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio in their respective roles as Daredevil and Kingpin, without all of the great history and supporting cast that made that show so great. That was Marvel's greatest sin. And not to mention the atrocious color grading, but I've already died on that hill. Now, I want to take a look back at how Born Again could have told the same story, but even better had they embraced this season as a true season 4 from the beginning. So I say that we open essentially where we left off in season 3. You can of course have a time skip, but have Nelson, Murdoch, and Page thriving with their new law firm. All three of them are successful and happy and doing great work and helping the people of Hell's Kitchen, and Wilson Fisk is still locked away in prison. But then shit hits the fan when it is announced that due to a technicality, Wilson Fisk is being released from prison.
The whole FBI corruption scandal agent, Nadeem, all that. It's why my husband was acquitted.
This would directly connect the season to the prior season early on, instead of trying to shoehorn it in at the tail end. This also gives us consequences to the corruption that we saw taking place in season 3, again, making this feel like a true season 4. So the Nelson, Murdoch, and Page law firm fight like hell in the courts to keep the Kingpin from being released. Unlike their previous legal encounters with the Kingpin, there's no jury manipulation or threats, no dirty attorneys on the Fisk payroll. It is a clean legal fight, and Nelson, Murdoch, and Page just lose. Fisk is released, and much to their surprise, he requests a meeting with Matt, Foggy, and Karen, very similar to the meeting that we see early on in Born Again between Fisk and Matt. So Fisk claims to be a changed man, he commends their efforts to keep the monster locked away, but he insists that he has changed, and that he has every intention of honoring their agreement from before.
And you won't harm Karen Page or Foggy Nelson or anyone else, because if you do, I will go after your wife.
None of them believe him, of course, but they still part ways somewhat amicably. So in this rewrite, I'm tasking myself with the challenge of making the events of Hawkeye, She-Hulk, and Echo work as canon to this story. I almost went the path of ignoring those, but that's no fun. So I'm incorporating them into the story, despite them obviously being a product of the MCU's attempt to ignore a lot of the original series. So to make this all work in the Daredevil series, we'll need to briefly explain what happened in those other shows in a montage type fashion, since we are having them happen in the middle of the season. So following Fisk's release, we'll see Matt leave for his trip to LA, kind of just to get away from the fact that he failed at keeping Fisk in prison. And that could be when we see Kingpin finally make his move and come out of the shadows when he knows that Daredevil is out of state. So that's when Hawkeye happens, Kingpin ends up getting shot by Echo, and he leaves the country, and then the Echo series happens. Fisk decides he's going to return to New York to run for mayor, and that is when we will see Matt see the announcement and tell Jen that he has has to return to New York to stop Fisk from becoming mayor. Matt then regroups with Karen and Foggy, who feel like Matt kind of abandoned them following their failure to stop Fisk's release, and they aren't on board with Matt taking the Daredevil route of fighting Fisk. But Matt insists that that is the only way following their legal failures the first time around. Karen and Foggy agree that the courts may have failed them, but that the vigilante path isn't the right alternative. Karen goes the journalist route, teams up with BB Urich, and together at the New York Bulletin, they take on Fisk's campaign in the press. While Foggy, on the other hand, gets back into politics and decides to throw his own hat in the ring for the race for mayor, similar to his run for district attorney in season 3, again making this a true season 4 by building upon previous storylines. So Karen has returned to her passion for research and reporting, working closely with the late Ben Urich's niece to bring Fisk down in the press. Foggy has returned to his passion of politics that he found in season 3. He's always been a charming sweet talker, so politics is right up his alley, and he is fighting Fisk by trying to win the mayoral race and thus prevent him from ever assuming that office. And then, of course, we have Matt, who is returning to his passion as well. His darker passion, his brutal passion, being Daredevil, which is perfect for Born Again. Now, while my rewrite does give Foggy far more of an active role in the season, he still doesn't survive. In fact, he dies the exact same way. Vanessa gets Benjamin Poindexter released from prison and tasks him with the killing of Foggy Nelson without telling her husband. But her reason for doing so is because she wants the power that will come with Fisk becoming mayor, and she views Foggy as a threat to that power. Now, Fisk, on the other hand, he's confident that he can beat Foggy, but after a dismal debate between the candidates and a staggering drop in the polls for Fisk, Vanessa takes matters into her own hands and has Foggy assassinated. Matt, of course, reacts in rage and is committed to tracking down and killing everyone responsible for Foggy's death, and he starts with Benjamin Poindexter. After the two fight, Poindexter confesses that it was Vanessa who hired him, and Matt then throws him off the rooftop, and this time, he dies. Daredevil has killed. Now, with Foggy dead, Fisk is still in no better position to win this multi-candidate race, but Fisk uses Foggy's assassination to bolster his campaign message of vigilantes like Spider-Man, Punisher, Hawkeye, and Daredevil being a problem for this city. The general public doesn't bite at first, that is until Daredevil plays right into Kingpin's hand and goes for him and Vanessa. Karen finds out that Matt plans to kill Vanessa and Fisk, and despite her hatred for both of them and her own killing streak in the previous seasons, she begs Matt not to cave to his darker half and become the very thing that Fisk says he is. Matt ignores Karen, and he embarks on his mission to kill Vanessa and Kingpin. Karen then reaches out to Frank Castle, the Punisher, to stop Matt and to save him from himself. Daredevil rolls into Kingpin's headquarters, and their long-awaited battle ensues. That's right, we actually get to see them fight in this version of the season. Little does Matt know that they have been expecting him, and they have hidden cameras everywhere capturing Matt's brutal showdown with Fisk on video. Matt bests Fisk, but before killing him, he tells Fisk that he is going to make Fisk watch him kill Vanessa. And I know, that is very dark and very not Daredevil, but stick with me. As Matt is about to kill Vanessa, Punisher comes strolling in, and he commends Red for finally going dark like him, finally willing to cross that line, but he then admits that he was wrong. He admits that crossing that line was never meant for heroes like Daredevil. Crossing that line was only meant for men like Frank, not Matt. So Frank convinces Matt not to kill Vanessa, and Matt breaks down in tears over Foggy. He does his classic scream. Fisk and Vanessa are still both down on their knees, and Fisk says it's good to see Frank, and Frank tells him to shut the fuck up. He then gives a speech about how Red is a hero, but that he, Frank, is not, and he then takes out his pistol and shoots Vanessa in the head. Fisk goes apeshit, him, Frank, and Daredevil start fighting, the police then swarm the building, Daredevil and Punisher escape, and Fisk is taken to safety. We then see a doctored version of the video released by the Fisk campaign, showing Matt saying that he wanted to kill Vanessa, beating the hell out of Fisk, and then Daredevil's buddy Punisher coming in and shooting her in cold blood. Fisk uses both the death of his former opponent in Foggy and the death of his wife by the hands of an unlawful gunman to make his final pitch for becoming mayor. The sympathetic Fisk then wins in a landslide, and his first order of business is to make vigilantes illegal in New York City. The season would then end similar to the way the original version does, Matt at Josie's, but inside we do not only see Karen and the gang, but we also see Frank Castle, and hell, Why not Echo and maybe throw in Hawkeye and even Jennifer Walters? Let's actually make Matt and Fisk having popped up in those shows have some actual meaning besides, oh, hey, look, it's Daredevil and Kingpin. And hey, if they can make it happen legally, throw Spider-Man in there as well. Okay, I know I got a little too fanfiction-y there at the end, but I really do think that this would have made for a far better show. Shocker, I know, it's almost as if I wrote this. Anyway, that's how I would have done Born Again as a true Daredevil season 4, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you would have done this show from the bottom up. I want to thank you so much for watching. Can't wait to hear your thoughts down in the comments below, and if you're new here, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. I've been Colton Ogburn, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.